we doing this? Really? Wait for it. Are we doing this? Wait for it. Pow! What the fuck?
WTF.
And it's also, what the fuck? What's wrong with me? It's time for WTF. What the fuck?
With Marc Maron.
Okay, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers? What the fuck buddies? What the fucking ears? What the fuck nicks? What the fucks the bulls? What the fucks? Whatever. Maybe I should make a new list. I don't know. Maybe I should turn the power off on my air conditioner. Maybe I should do a lot of things. Maybe I should get my cat out of here before he pees on my books. My cat is an anti-intellectual. He's a Philistine. He's a barbarian. He's a barbarian. He comes in here and he pees on highbrow books. He peed on my copy of Susan Jacoby's Free Thinkers, and also on Hitler's Willing Executioners. Those are two books that I almost read. And Parting the Waters. I don't know why all three of those together. One's about Martin Luther King, one's about the so-called good German, and the other's about the right wing's complete misunderstanding of the founding fathers. But Boomer just peed on all of them. Just peed on them. Boomer likes to pee on books. Boomer likes to pee on books. I think that could be a chorus of a repetition of a song of some kind. How are you? I am Marc Maron. This is WTF. Thank you for listening. Today I'm very excited to talk to Richard Lewis. Richard Lewis, who had a profound impact on me. Richard Lewis, a kindred spirit. Richard Lewis, who I remember when I was in college seeing on Letterman, probably the first season, or I don't remember when he first went on, but I was watching Letterman in college, the first season of Letterman. I thought it was just the greatest thing to ever happen to television. And then this dude comes out waving his hands, wearing black, being Woody Allen on like 78 speed. And I was like, who is this tornado of Semitic neuroticism? Who is this kindred spirit? For years, I've seen Richard Lewis, and I've always been curious to chat, and we chat. And that will happen soon. So I'm excited about that. I hope you're excited about that as well. What else is going on? I did the real-time show with Bill Maher. That was a thrill. Very exciting. There might even be some right-wingers listening right now because I got my chops back together. I don't do a lot of politics on this program, but many of you know my background. You know where I stand on some things. I choose to deal with life as opposed to channel my anger into things that I may or may not feel I have control over or are necessarily all that interested in all the time. But things are getting heated up. And I had to put on my political satirist hat and jam on some irreverence, do the big business on Bill Maher show. But I was thrilled to be asked to do the show because I like Bill. I've liked Bill a long time. I have not done any of his shows. I haven't been on. I wasn't on Politically. I was on Politically Incorrect when it was on at Comedy Central, for God's sakes. And I was excited. I didn't know what to expect. I still get a very big thrill from doing television and from going, it tapes over at CBS. But it's interesting when you do these short TV spots over half my life. I've been doing those things, and it's always sort of interesting to see what you're walking into. And they tape over at CBS, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they tape on the same stage as The Price is Right. So you see, there was some snowmobiles. There were some things that I guess people guessed upon or guessed the price of. They were all outside the main studio, and then you walk in and there's the big, beautiful real-time set. The audience is set back further than I thought, and you just never know how it's going to feel when you go out onto a stage in front of an audience on television. And it was wild because on TV, everything obviously is larger, but really you walk out and it's three people. It was Mark Cuban and Krista Freeland, Dan Savage, and a famous vegan Dr. Campbell, I believe is his name. He was interesting. Dr. T. Colin Campbell. But the weird thing is you walk out when you're waiting in the wings to go on, you realize, oh my God, there's just four people sitting out there in the middle of a big studio at this makeshift desk, and they're just people, and we're going to just be people. And the audience is set back. God, it must have been about 40 feet behind the cameras, so you could barely see them. It's a very dark set, and it was incredibly intimate, which I didn't realize. And I got out there, and me and Bill locked in, and we had a conversation, and then we shifted gears. We got into some stuff, We were talking about, my past and my radio past at Air America. And then we got into Michelle Bachmann and her husband somehow. And then it got a little gnarly. Some serious, irreverence occurred, with me and Dan Savage. And it seems to have rattled the cage of the right just a bit. It doesn't take much. It's pretty interesting to me. And it was pretty exciting. It felt good to be back in that arena. And, I appreciate the gig. And then you walk off, you go backstage, you wipe the makeup off your face, you have a snack at the little after party upstairs, and you watch them take the backdrop of the set and they roll it past you. And you just see how TV works. But it was very fun to do it, and I'm glad I had the experience. I did show up about 4 hours early for the show, because I thought Carmageddon started that afternoon, Friday. I thought it started at 5 o'clock Friday, and even though I was going east to west, I prepared. It's amazing the hype behind that thing and how it can fuck with your head. I mean, I couldn't get out of my driveway. I was putting, I brought my phone, I brought my pad, I brought my pens, I brought 3 shirts. I didn't know what I was going to wear. I ended up buying a new shirt. But literally, it took me about a half hour to get out of my driveway because I didn't know what Carmageddon would yield. I might as well have been going back for a second pair of underwear, perhaps a sleeping bag, maybe some Gorp. Maybe I needed a bag of Gorp. I didn't know how long I'd be out there in the wild. Maybe I needed to have one of them truckers' friends. What are those? The things that you pee in on the road. I had no idea, but I ran into absolutely no traffic at all, so I was there 2 hours early by myself with the people that set up the show. But again, good times. Glad I did it. And if you are a conservative listening to it right now, out of curiosity, thinking like, who's this fucking bastard? Who's this guy that talks that kind of shit? I don't have to respect politicians. I don't have to revere them. I don't have to, consider them good people or noble people. Thank God. I honestly think I pissed off both sides a little bit, but I can live with it. It was amazing when I was preparing. I had this overwhelming anxiety and almost a flashback to when I did morning radio. There was this moment where I'm sitting with a stack of news stories that I've got to highlight, get angles on, understand. And I was just a guest on Bill Maher. I wasn't even on the panel, but my brain just locked into that because I used to do that every fucking day. I'd get up at 2:30, 3 in the morning after sleeping about 6 hours, but just jam a bunch of coffee into my face and just go over the day's news and underline and panic and just sort of, kind of get myself into this weird manic state where I became this kind of angry, funny delivery system just fueled by Dunkin' Donuts coffee and handfuls of M&Ms. Oh my God, right now I'm starting to sweat. Just that day-to-day compulsive need to be on top of the goings-ons and the arguments and the points of view and just, it's exciting. I don't know if it's necessarily important. It's certainly not what I do anymore. But I am not afraid to talk about things that have some personal impact on me or if they be political, so be it. But I got to be honest with you. Michelle Bachmann has annoyed me for years, and it was a relief to get that out of my system. So that's that. Moving on, I would like to say today's show is brought to you by, can I say that? That's old school. Today's show is brought to you by Comedy Central. Enter the Thursday dimension with all new episodes of Futurama and Ugly Americans. Thursday, starting at 10 p.m., 9 Central. Go to cc.com to see previews, exclusives, and behind-the-scenes videos. Pow! Whoa, I just shit my pants. I did. JustCoffee.coop. You can link to it at WTFpod.com or go to JustCoffee.coop. Pick up some of that WTF blend, and I get a few shekels on the back end of that deal. How's that? Just got back from a little barbecue, and I have to admit to being a grill bully. I'm a grill bully. If I go to a barbecue and the dude is in charge of the burgers or is in charge of the chicken or is in charge of the grill in general, and they are just disorganized or not fucking doing it, I'm gonna bully him out of that position. I just have no patience for it. I got there. The dude was flipping the hamburgers over and over again, kept opening the grill, kept playing with the positioning, did not have the buns in the right place. And I did that thing. That it wasn't the guy that was having the party, so I didn't feel like I was stepping on anyone's territory. But sometimes, man, I mean, you just got to step in and grab that spatula, grab those tongs, and do it like it needs to be done. Just, I am not a classic man in that way. I'm not a car guy. Yeah, I'm not a sports guy. But when it comes to taking over a grill, sometimes you just got to do it. I mean, I didn't insult him. I didn't call him a grill pussy. I said, do you mind? And I took the equipment and I fed 20 people. That's what I did. And it was a birthday party and I didn't bring a present. So I was able to kind of detach and say, they were very grateful that I took charge of that. And I said, well, happy birthday. You see how that works? I did service today. I did grill service in lieu of birthday present. And I thought that was a noble thing to do. I'm no grill genius either, but I got it in me. You know what I mean? It was always my plan B. There's always the plan B. That has completely faded away now. This is it. This is all I got. But somewhere in the back of my head, I thought, I can always go back to the grill. You want headphones or no?
Yeah. Do I need them?
Well, if you want to hear yourself.
Well, this is not live.
No.
Yeah.
But, you can...
I hate myself. Why should I have to do it?
You can regulate your voice appropriately if you hear it in the head.
You're like, all of a sudden, you're some kind of professor at radio. That's good.
I'm just trying to...
What's the language?
There's no language problems. I want Richard Lewis to be the best Richard Lewis he can be. I want him to be able to regulate...
That's what they want every night from both of us.
So, I'm exhausted. I've been up...
Is this rolling?
Yeah.
It's a very lovely house.
Thank you. Are you exhausted?
I'm beyond exhausted. I had been on the road, and I forgot to take a break, so it was 41 years in a row.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, you should probably relax a little bit, take a little time off.
Not here, not in this house. This house is great. It's unbelievable. It's overlooking the Alamo.
Yeah.
No, it seems that way. It seems like people can rush up.
Yeah. The last time I saw you, I was at LAX. And
I'm a liberal, by the way. Let me just say this. And I had this driver who's a Native American.
Yeah.
And he keeps talking about now you're in the barrio. I go, I don't give a fuck where I am. I'm going to do Marc's show.
Uh-huh. And he's out there nervous in the car.
Yeah.
He's waiting.
He's out there shining bows and arrows. I said, you have to protect me and try. And he had a globe with him too. He didn't even know where he was fucking going. The whole thing was
Yeah, really? Is that the new thing? No, he didn't want the GPS. He just went old school with a globe.
He's pointing to the boot of Italy. This fucking.
This is where we're going. Well, let me ask you something, Richard.
You better, otherwise it's dry.
It's just going to go. No.
I woke up at 4 a.m. for this.
You did not. What do you do at 4 a.m.? Can you not sleep?
No, I've been on the road. I did about 12 shows in 18 days, and I finished the script all in 18 days, and I'm nuts.
What's the script for?
A television show, and then I'm doing, I'm trying to go out with a bang, man.
Yeah, I understand that.
41 years. 41 years.
Has it been 41 years?
Yeah.
Since you started?
41 years ago.
Since you started?
Yeah, first time on stage.
Where was that?
At a club in the village that's no longer there.
Which one?
It's called the Champagne Gallery.
And where did you come from?
My mother's vagina.
How was that for you?
Horrible.
Yeah? You never got over it, did you?
Well, she wanted to push me back in.
Still?
She's dead. They're all dead. But I mean, they didn't. I was a mistake child.
Me too. Jesus Christ.
I'm not. I have about 8,000 billion pages in my computer of premises. So you're not going to be catching me doing routines. But the truth is, I really was a mistake, baby. There's no way they wanted me.
Yeah.
My siblings were much older, and my father looked like a Jewish, looked like Michelangelo with a fucking beard. I said, wait a minute, what the fuck am I doing here? And then everyone moved out. My brother moved out to hear Allen Ginsberg stand on a corner and do Howl, and my sister.
He moved to San Francisco.
No, I think Ginsberg was in New York, but will you do some research before you call me the next time?
Sure.
It's unbelievable. Everything you said so far has been wrong.
Well, that's to provoke conversation. I was just
I don't need you to be wrong to provoke. You're very hilarious, but Allen Ginsberg is a New Yorker.
Right, but he read Hal for the first time at City Lights books.
I made some dumb. You know what? I take back that whole fucking comment.
Oh boy,
it was stupid, Mark.
I can't believe we're already here. We've been here. We've been going 10 minutes.
I think it's going quite well.
All right, good. Where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn. I'm a New Yorker, and then they moved to New Jersey, and I was raised there. If you want to use that word.
Did you do anything else before comedy?
I was in my mother's womb. What could I do? I wasn't AAA ball.
Was there another trajectory? That's my only question.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, was there like,
no,
I'm going to get a job and do this?
No.
I had a job.
Well,
I did that.
There was comedy writing, but it wasn't in my heart of hearts. And my father, after he sent me to college in Europe and all this shit, I just felt like I didn't have the balls to say, you know what, I'm going to give it all up and work for free and see what happens.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it.
And so what'd you end up doing?
He died very soon after I graduated college, and then it was a real shocker, man. So it catapulted me on stage because I was writing jokes for all these, these Borscht Belt guys, and
like who?
Well, I guess the most famous was a guy named Morty Gunty. But there was a handful of them.
You wrote one-liners for
all these guys who were doing the the Borscht Belt.
So did you go up there to watch your act and everything?
Fucking A.
So you sat up there at the hotels?
Yeah, I wanted to see if they delivered it right.
And did they?
No. And they gave me back everything. 99%. They said this won't work for me, and I realized why. Because it was about me.
Yeah.
I said, then it suddenly when my father dropped dead.
Yeah.
I realized that there was such a hole to fill in that. It was pretty horrible for everybody in the family. My mother and brother and sister and everybody else. So anyway, the truth of the matter is going on stage did really help fill that hole.
In terms of the grief and everything else?
Totally. That's exactly what I'm talking. It's the first time you actually understood what I said.
Yeah, I've understood most of it.
Oh, I've been inarticulate.
No, I don't think so. You've been in my brain for most of my adult life. I remember the first time I saw you on David Letterman, and I was like, "Where
82.
the fuck did this guy come from?" I must have seen.
Really? That's very nice. Is that a compliment?
Yeah, it was. It must have been your first appearance because it was electric. Wow. You know, you spoke to a direct channel in my mind, and I was like, "That's the guy. That's the guy. That's the guy." And people compare me to you, and I don't know what to do with that. Yeah. But I'm not. It's not an insult to me. I think
Paul
it's
Reiser had that problem too.
Oh, really? But I like the idea of a young Richard Lewis sitting.
Why do I care what you like?
I know. Sitting at the Concord.
I'll be 64. Go on.
Sitting at the Concord Hotel, at the feet of these fat, sweaty old Jewish men that do half their act in Yiddish.
Come on, there's only a few Jews left. We got to be nice to ourselves. There were fat Jewish women there too.
Yeah, their wives
and their children were fat and Jewish. I'll tell you something. In my 30s, I had sold out Carnegie Hall, and it was a great night. And I'm a recovered drug addict for like 17 years, and so I basically showed up pretty all right, and then I hammered my life away. But
has it been 17?
Yeah, well, it's incredible.
I'm coming up on 12. I'm trying to remember.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You hosted the A-list. I was on the A-list when you hosted.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the teleprompter, I'd still be there.
And you were still drinking then, right?
Oh yeah.
89. That was 89.
And with the teleprompter, it was a piece of cake. No. Oh yeah, I was drinking.
Yeah.
Teleprompter, it looked like, everything. It was so great.
Yeah,
that was my rider. Teleprompter. No, but all he does is get on a horse and go over a hill. No, I need a teleprompter.
So, all right. So going back.
The Concourse.
Yeah.
So the manager says, listen, it's a lot of bread for an hour. And I said, yeah, but no, this ain't my kind of gig. He said, yeah, but you're in New York. I said, fine. So I rented a stretch, 4 great friends, a lot of champagne. I told the limo guy, go on the Concorde, keep the engine running. So I take a picture with the owners, the older guys, who are my age now, if not old or younger even. And I can't believe how fucking old I am. Anyway, so I take a picture, and I go out, and I hear and it's 3,000 people eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hear, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Lewis, not even Citizen Kane, not even that even. So they don't even look at the stage. 3,000
eating Jews.
Well, Jews like to eat, but
Yeah.
At the expense of spoken word, it's murder.
Yeah.
So I said to them, I looked at my watch and went, look, because I had the check in my wallet. There's a lot of bread for an hour.
Yeah.
It was a joke. So I said, look, I got 32 minutes and 18 seconds. I had a stopwatch.
Yeah.
I said, and I said that, and then I heard 2,000 people go, I didn't get pears, Lenny. And that's really a loud sentence when 2,000 people say it, and it was almost mystical. So I bombed. So dig this. The guy, Peter Allen, who's passed away, he was with one of Liza Minnelli's, whatever.
Yeah.
Husbands.
Yeah.
He was on the next night, and he apparently was there, and a friend of mine was there for a weekend, as was my uncle, who's still alive at 97, who was divorced then, but I was still his uncle.
Yeah.
His nephew, rather. And he told the group of people, he said, my nephew, he's in this series with Jamie Lee Curtis, and he just did Carnegie Hall, and he's going to be on. He was real proud, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the show, my uncle Milton said, who's still alive, he's doing great, he's 98, he's cool. He said to the people after the show, I think he's my nephew. I think he was so humiliated because I absolutely got no laughs. So I go up to the suite, and the suite at the Concord was like being in your grandmother's bathroom.
Yeah.
It was, it was just, it smelled like, I thought the pogrom was going to rush in.
Little rose-shaped hand soaps and things.
Yeah, all that shit. I mean, it was all bad.
Yeah.
It was all negative.
Yeah.
And there was a bottle of Dom Perignon, which was great, I'm an alcoholic. And I had and the car was running, because I saw it outside the window. Yeah. A big white stretch, real grandiose bullshit. So, I read this note, and it was from the owner's son. Anyway, the son said, you can't be all things to all people. And that meant a lot to me because, he was a huge fan. And obviously these people could care less about what I had to say. They weren't my target market. 4-year-old kids running around or breastfeeding or throwing pineapple at each other's necks like aborigines, with boomerangs.
Yeah.
So, I realized they were right. I mean, I got hammered on the way home. And I kept flaunting the check, real grand, Look what I just made for doing nothing.
Yeah. But it hurt, right?
Oh, it's horrible.
It's the worst.
It's the worst fucking feeling. But but dig this. So Peter Allen, a friend of mine, was there. I don't know why he went there for singles weekend if my uncle was there at 70. What was he even thinking?
Peter Allen, but he's gay too, right?
Yeah, he was gay. He was gay. He's a dead gay man.
Yeah.
Nice guy, talented guy, but he goes on stage, my friend says, the next night and goes, boy, I hope I do better than Richard Lewis. And I heard that. I went, that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
We're in the fucking arts. It's murderously hard. All I ever wanted to do was pay the bills, and be fun and write and be a humorist. And that's all I've been doing.
So were you able to let that anger go?
No. It was seething. I almost became homophobic. I mean, I'm a liberal. I almost started building devices and to toss them into gay pride parades. I got nuts. But so what happened was I was at the Four Seasons. I like to go to hotels in Hollywood and bring notes with me.
Yeah.
Before a tour, just look at thousands of new premises.
You actually check into a room to prepare?
No, I go in the lobbies.
Oh, and you just sit there?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, actually. Why is that funny?
What? I'm sorry.
No, I want to know why, Mark, seriously.
Because you could go anywhere. There's a coffee shop.
Well, my house is only,
You can walk to the Four Seasons.
I don't like coffee. I like 5-star hotel lobbies.
And you just sit there.
Why should I leave my home?
I'm not going to.
Which was built in the 20s, which is a gorgeous house. It was almost like a Frank Lloyd Wright. It's not. I wish it was. And to go to a motel lobby. So might as well go to the Chateau Marmont or the Peninsula, or the Four Seasons.
So you don't go, or you do?
I do.
All right.
3-4 times a week. Don't yell at me. Are you yelling at me?
No, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just trying to engage.
No, I like you.
I like you too.
But you engage in a way that could provoke an argument.
Is that unfamiliar to you?
No, I have an argument even with insects.
How does that go? You think you're better than me?
Well, that's very funny. No, I crushed a praying mantis once.
Oh,
actually,
God.
I sliced them in half. I'm frightened of them. And then the other...
that's illegal, I think, in New Jersey.
I don't give a fuck.
All right, you're a fucking rebel. You're killing prey mantises everywhere.
Let me tell you something.
What?
I'm a mantis killer.
I hear that.
Because those Anyway, I saw Peter Allen,
Yeah.
and I said, can I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah.
And he said, Richard. I don't mean to do a gay voice or anything.
It's all right. It wasn't barely. It was sort of. Go ahead.
I don't do impressions.
All right, I'm not asking you to.
What did it sound like? Like Hal Linder?
It's maybe. I mean, I would. No. What's this?
Elton John?
No, it just sounded like a guy going like Richard.
Yeah, like a guy in third grade. Let's play volleyball.
Yeah, you didn't go Richard.
Oh, that would have been. But I didn't want to do it right.
Is that
on.
how he sounded?
I don't want to get into any. By doing a gay voice, if some people might. Anyway,
right.
look, we're getting way off the subject because of you.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's not my fault. So
No.
I wanted an apology, and I said, I've been doing this for the time, 30 years. And I said, I had just sold out Carnegie Hall. I got 2 standing ovations. I foolishly did something I never do. It's something that I don't feel is right for me for the money. And I did it. And I paid the price. It was a humiliating hour.
Yeah.
I don't need another fucking artist to step on me the next night. Just do your show.
Right.
Do your fucking show.
Yeah.
Why the fuck should you put me down?
Yeah.
And then he became like screamingly apologetic in a way that was, he almost got tossed out of the lobby. It was,
Did he start playing piano in the?
no, he almost started playing me.
Yeah.
So he got on his knees and he was apologizing. Oh my God, you're right. I was wrong. And so, but he was sweet about it.
Yeah.
I got an apology. Hanging on to resentments are really bad in this business because we're fucked over by so many people in the business end. Well,
it's hard to understand that, and I'll look to you for this because I do respect you and everything. But when you are a unique performer and you are an authentic voice, and that is what you do, it's some people don't understand, and then some people take advantage. But it's very hard to get our needs met when we're as crazy as we are.
That was your telephone, right?
I'm turning it off.
That was so fucking rude.
I didn't mean to.
I turned my phone off miles before we hit the house to remind myself. And it's your show.
It's all a plan.
Your popular show. But you're right. No, you're right. What's your point?
No, but my point is that it's hard not to be filled with resentment because on some level we think that Hollywood is our parents or our friends or that we're entitled to something and then but you seem remarkably well adjusted for you lately.
Well, let me put it this way. Honestly,
yeah.
I had written a book about a decade ago, about 7 years into my sobriety, because I wanted to tell the truth, because I felt if I had any gift other than a way to make people laugh, is that I was the same guy on stage I was off. I thought that was sort of cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually think it was cool. It just turned out that way.
But that's the way you wanted it to be. Your journey was to be true to yourself, right?
True to myself, but
right.
I didn't think that by me going on stage and talking about a rash on my ass, which was there, would be funny. Because I would do it on Letterman. If I wake up and had a rash on my ass, I'd come right, I didn't give a shit what they wanted me to, what are you going to talk about? I would say, shirts, God, Hawaii, hello, goodbye, and shelves. Don't ask me. But see, they have to write notes down. Now I have someone, they're all so afraid of me.
Because they have segment producers. I used to work with the same guy at Conan as you did with Frank Smiley.
Oh, God. I know Frank forever. I had to take Frank by the neck, like the scruff of his neck.
Yeah.
And drag him before one of my shots with Conan.
Yeah.
And said, look, Conan. I said, I've been doing this for almost 40 years. I said, Frank called me at midnight on the road. He says, what are some of the things you're going to talk about? Well, let's hear a few. I go, fuck you. I mean, I like Frank.
Yeah.
We're not, we don't see each other a lot.
Right.
But he's like very cynical sometimes in a funny way, but still. I said, I'm not telling you. You're not my audience. You're just one person. I said, if I can't be trusted, I said, I just did 3 shows in 4 days. I got 2 standing ovations. I'll do some of that shit if that makes you feel any better. I said, but I'm not going to perform. I was in the middle of Wisconsin. It was 10 below zero. I got Frank Smiley by a fire in Manhattan going, so what are you going to talk about? And I went ballistic.
On him?
Yeah.
And then did he go, what else you got?
Yeah, well, he's funny. He's funny, Frank. He's really funny. He's a nice guy, too. So before I went on this, I was on.
Yeah.
and between breaks, I signaled to the exec producer, Conan. This is when he was still with NBC, and I said, come over here a minute. I said, look, if you want me to do this show, and I was very supportive to the guy when he was getting creamed in '94. I was just sober, and I was in this kind of bubble, and I couldn't do enough for people, and I called the guy. I said, hey, man, fuck the critics, and just find your style, and if it's meant to be, it'll happen. But
right.
Don't listen to all this bullshit. So, and he's been good to me, Conan, and very fair. But, he still engages in these segment producers. I said, look, I can understand if it's some actor or actress from a soap opera.
Yeah.
And you go, what do you want to talk about? I think I sort of picture Christ on a stapler.
Yeah.
Well, then, all right, so we'll open up with the stapler Christ. That I understand. I said, but I might make that up while I'm sitting there.
Right.
And I can't be in jail.
Yeah.
Because Frank Smiley called me on the road and traced me down at midnight. What am I going to talk about? I threw the phone out of the fucking 12-story window. So I grabbed them over, and in front of the exec producer and Conan, I said, if you want me to do this show, I said, I'm telling you, ask me what I'm going to do next time. Spirituality, alcoholism, divorces, fear of intimacy. Is that enough? Because I could talk for like 18 days on each one, and I promise you that a lot of the stuff I've done on stage.
Yeah.
And I'll never repeat anything on your show that I've done anywhere. So I will never give you answers anymore. And they don't ask me anymore.
Did you do that with Letterman too at the beginning?
I do it now with everybody, or I don't do
But from the beginning?
Oh, you have to when you're a kid.
You had to do you had to give them what you were going to say.
Yeah, but what I would do is that it's actually your life. So when you get up there, you could piss them off. Mm-hmm. Because I understand this. I mean, look, you go and then there's 18 guests a week. I get it.
Right. You're just another day at work.
I learned a lot. Yeah. I learned a lot of valuable lessons doing these shows. Once early in the 80s, I did more Lettermans than almost anybody.
Yeah, and I'm actually the panel guest. You were the guy that was like, I always look forward to you sitting down. That to me was a respectable thing.
Yeah, well, and Letterman was the guy who told me, you'll never do stand-up on my show. You're much better on a panel. You're too physical.
Right, and you engage too. He can move you along.
And because of him, it set a precedent for me back in '82. And I've never, even without a series, I said, no, Lewis doesn't do stand-up. If you want him, he just sits down and squirms in his seat.
Right.
And that's because of Dave. That was a great thing. But two things. Letterman really gave me my first real break.
Yeah.
And because I was on like every 6 weeks for years. And, I had endless amounts of material, so that wasn't a problem. And the thing is, once I was talking about Hawaii, and I said to the woman during the day, all right, he can ask me, I understand you were in Hawaii. I said, the whole thing is so fraudulent to me.
Right.
It just sounds fake.
You mean when you're talking to a segment producer?
Yeah, I said, what, Karnak?
Yeah.
You were in Maui.
Yeah.
How do you fucking know?
It's not a real question.
No, but Dave, they're great at what they do, but still, to me, it was a fake. But that's what happens all the time anyway when they have these categories on paper. So he says, I understand you're in Hawaii, and I cringed when I heard that.
Yeah.
But look, I get it.
Show business.
Yeah, show business. So I start doing stuff about Hawaii.
Right.
I wrote thousands of premises, not thousands, hundreds, in that week.
Yeah.
So during the taping, Dave said, who truly has been incredibly supportive to me for 40 years, 35 years or so.
Yeah.
He said on the air, I guess this is your Maui hunk. And I went fucking nuts. It took away all the, like it broke the fourth wall.
Yeah.
It made me feel like I was just doing like my bar mitzvah speech.
But it's also sandbagged you in a little bit because you were against that anyways, and all of a sudden he put that on you.
I don't know if he did it it snuck out or
he's probably trying to be funny.
He was probably trying to be funny, but I went crazy.
What happened?
I went nuts in the dressing room. I didn't give a shit anymore about the show. And it was so important to me, that show. I lived for that show.
Were you drunk?
No.
Is it sober?
Well, I don't remember. I mean, there was sometimes I might have been a little high, but I never stumbled into it.
And what happened because of that?
Well, he heard me screaming and yelling. I got to my hotel room, And, he's a pretty reclusive guy.
Yeah.
And he wants to be, obviously. And I get a call at the hotel. Dave wants you to come over at 2, after their little rehearsals.
Yeah.
And I went, fine. I figured it was it. Like, hey, how dare you and
Right.
fuck you and
Right.
screaming. Don't scream. My crew is there. And,
Right.
and it was just the opposite. He says, boy, that was the most unfair comment to make to another comedian. To all of a sudden, I was billboarding the fact that you had material
Right.
on Maui, and I asked you about it, and then like you said, I did feel sandbagged.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool of him.
Yeah.
And on Carson, you had to do 5 minutes and like 31.5 seconds. It was like psychotic.
It's 4 minutes and 15 now.
Is that what it is?
On Ferguson, anyways.
I dig this, Mark. I had this routine for like 10 years, and
Yeah.
I loved getting them on the show and then throwing them out.
Yeah.
It's best, unless I was in a place where the audience stunk, I just wanted to get off stage.
Right.
So I did this routine on the Division of Motor Vehicles, and it really was a strong routine. It was about 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
So I cut it down to about 6.5 minutes. And I remember the week because Rodney was in town, and, we both drank and did drugs, and we loved women, and we just went crazy. And
You and Rodney?
oh, yeah, whenever
Yeah.
we could,
Yeah.
And he was really very supportive of me. And anyway.
Sweet guy in his way, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
The darkest guy I've ever known, practically.
He was so miserable.
Unbelievably miserable.
Ugh.
What he used to call the whole, what the humanity was, not the dark, maybe the darkness, hey, I'll tell you the heaviness,
the
it's getting in
heaviness.
me.
Yeah,
It's getting
yeah.
the heaviness.
That's good.
Very upset.
Yeah.
So I walk in, I had written about this, I'll make it brief. I walked in, they were changing shows. All I wanted to do was my 2 monologues. I told, at the time, Bud Freeman, who was running the joints, I said, look, Bud, I just want to do my monologue and get out. I'll do both shows. He says, fine. So I see Rodney, and he sees me. I said, oh, shit, I'm cooked, man.
Yeah.
Because I usually used to stay around, close the place, look for women, drink, hear rock and roll. And
Where was this? Anywhere?
Anywhere.
Yeah.
But certainly at a comedy club.
Yeah.
And I was making some sort of name for myself, so it was easy to meet women and all that shit. So,
Yeah.
so I see Rodney, and he says, "Hey, Richard, you'll come sit with me, huh? After your set." I don't do impressions. But that's what I was I do.
Yeah.
I mean, that was closer to Rodney than say like Dick Van Dyke, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah.
Good. So, don't lie to me.
No, I'm serious. I got it. It had the feel of Rodney.
Hey, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the attitude. So
Yeah.
I said, Rodney, I feel I can't. I said I just wanted to go home and hear the tape and time it. That's all I cared
For
about.
Carson.
Yeah, I mean that Carson, because David Brenner once told me when I was 23. He says, for 1 5-minute spot on Carson is like doing the Improv every night, full house, 3 shows a night for he had it all figured out, 18 years.
He had the math done. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a maniac like that. So I 18 years is it's right.
Yeah.
So you better not walk through any of this shit.
Yeah.
And when I see younger comics, I go, whether it's radio or whatever, I know if I sound like an old fool guy, I don't give a shit. I think it's good advice. You never know who's listening.
Right.
And once you don't take your art seriously and passionately, you'll never be as good as you can be, and then you're going to burn a lot of bridges. So I believe that. So
And you learned that from experience?
well, I just had good mentoring early on.
You didn't burn bridges ever?
No.
No, that's
I
good.
mean, there were some people that, I was, there's been a few places,
Yeah.
perhaps I couldn't be on because they didn't like me. I like when people, I used to always, Cassavetes, I'm a big, huge fan, and he used to see a screening, and if the audience liked it, he would go back in and
fuck
make
it up somehow.
fuck it up so they wouldn't like it. I love that. He wanted people to be annoyed.
Yeah.
And I never want, who wants to be Bob Hope, for Christ's sake?
Absolutely. All right, so Rodney pulls you over.
So no, he didn't. So I lied. I went, Rodney, I feel like shit, man.
Yeah.
And Rodney said, hey, great, you're halfway there, huh? And when he said you're halfway there, I froze. I mean, to me, and I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
I said, I'll be right, let me just do my monologue, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And we closed the place down, as usual. But here's the thing. I had this monologue.
7 minutes.
Not even, 5 something.
But that's how long yours was. You had to cut it down.
Yeah, well, I had to cut it down from the club version.
Right.
So I go on stage, And you know, God, there's such torment. People should know. It's like first getting it, and then honing it, and doing it for years. And I don't work that way anymore. I haven't for decades. Now I just free associate half the shows, and it's more like improv. I can't take it anymore.
And you can't take structure.
I don't have an act.
Right.
I just don't have. I really don't have an act. I have literally 1,500 pages of premises. And I scroll them, and I print out the last year's, and I bring it on the road with me, and I try to remember some of it. And
the yellow notebooks. I saw you at the bottom line, probably in the late 80s.
No more notes.
No more yellow notebooks?
Not for a decade. And it's never been better. So dig this. So I'm on the show, Ladies and Gentlemen, Richard Lewis. This was before I had a sitcom, so I had to do stand-up. And I go on there, and I'm destroying this Burbank, which is notorious for being pretty square and not an easy audience.
Right.
And my lack of experience made me play it more like a nightclub room than the camera. It's really the camera that matters. When that red thing goes red, that's in the bedroom of millions of people.
You were aware of that?
Well,
at that time?
I was not as much as I should have been.
Uh-huh.
Because I got too physical, and I was like trying to, playing the front row as if they were ordering 2 whiskey sours. Yeah. But I learned young enough that I didn't burn any of those bridges. But the thing about this was so amazingly frightening, was that midway through the monologue, and I was so in heaven. I'm killing.
Yeah.
This is maybe the strongest shot I've seen anyone do.
Right.
And you're an unbelievable comedian. You would know when there's laughs, you wait till they peak, and then you move on.
Yeah.
So I did that. I waited, and then all of a sudden, underneath the camera, a technician comes, the stage manager, gave me the wrap it up sign. I went, wrap it up? I'm halfway through. It would make no sense.
Right.
If I said good night now, I never would get the show again.
So you're getting too many laughs.
And applause.
Yeah.
So I had to make a decision. If I never get the show again, which I wouldn't, I said, if I didn't get off, I'd have to say I was too good. And I could live with that. I was too funny.
Yeah.
That I could live with.
Right.
But I get off stage, and the talent coordinator went fucking nuts. And the agents were with me. And they were sort of cluelessly funny. They went, hey, you did 2 shows in one. I said, no, you don't understand. That's the fucking reason I'm not coming back, you mental cases. Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah.
This guy's screaming at me. Carson is going to be livid after the So I had a date. I was dating, I dated a lot of waitresses, but slash actresses, and
and who are now massage therapists or Christians.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore what anyone does. I just hope they don't have a painful death.
Yeah.
But at any rate,
or your child.
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
Okay.
I'm married now, but I had a 5-year window, but I didn't want to have. I couldn't. You don't know me. We don't hang out that much, but my child would be would have horrible.
You can't. You have a neediness battle.
Oh my God, he'd be sucking my thumb, his thumb, my uncle's thumb.
Why are you crying? Daddy's hurting.
Exactly right. That's right. You care more about me. I have a temperature. Let me take your temperature, Richard.
Yeah.
You can call me Richard. Don't call me Dad.
Yeah. Makes me uncomfortable.
So I get off stage and I go to the Palm, which I always used to love. There used to be a legendary guy named Gigi who ran it. He's dead now, and he was the greatest. And I went there with the 2 managers, a date, nice woman. And I was crestfallen because I went, in an hour and a half, you close your eyes and you see all the apartment houses on the East Coast. Lights will go on in a bedroom, and there you are.
Yeah.
Different apartment houses. Yeah. How many in this apartment are going to see me? How many in this? I mean, I used to trip on that.
Yeah.
But I said, they're going to see me destroy. I didn't think that they could edit. I forgot about that aspect of it. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, 10 feet away is Carson, still in his makeup like I was. The odds that he was at the table next to me, was 1,000,000,000 to 1 shot.
Sure, he went home maybe.
Anything.
Yeah.
I bolt over like Jack Ruby,
ready
to shoot him in the head. And I got on my knees. He was there with his lawyer,
like a Jack Ruby that just wanted attention, didn't want to kill a president.
I just went, that's a way of looking at it. But to me, I felt like I was. The way it looked like I was going to assassinate him.
What was the first thing in your head? Like, I got to apologize?
That's it.
Right.
That's it. And I said, look, Johnny, Because I had done the show. I said,
Yeah.
Johnny, look, I did this monologue for 10 years. I couldn't wait to get it over with. It killed. You were there.
Yeah.
I said, the guy wanted me to get off. I said, I didn't want Johnny Carson to think I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
I said, so I called an automatic. And
Yeah.
I did the whole routine. I know it went twice as long, but I'd rather you know that I know what I'm doing and never do the show again than to say, what the fuck was that all about? It made no sense to me. And the next day I got a call from the talent coordinator. He said, you're a lucky man that you ran into him. Because had I not, I would have had to have crashed a lot, maybe never gotten in. And
What did he say to you?
He didn't say much. He was scared. I was like,
Panicked.
I looked like a guy who was going to kill him.
Yeah.
Because my eyes were like a coyote's.
And he just said,
He says, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." Something to that effect.
Uh-huh.
So he let me, and I never looked back.
So, if you don't mind, because
I don't mind about anything. What,
All
you
right.
want me to leave?
No, I identify with this transition you made. That okay, I think it's interesting that you started doing comedy right after your father's death. To sort of
Fill the void.
Yeah, fill the void.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak for you.
That's all right. And then you developed this style, which was your style. You did create a voice through written material, but then all of a sudden you detached from the material, because I find that the idea of being exactly the same on and off stage is very compelling, and that there's no distance between who you are on stage
I
or
like
off stage.
that.
Because it's emotionally satisfying. You don't feel like you're being a fraud, right?
Right.
And you feel like you have a connection to the people that are there. Now, one thing I've said about you is that do you think there are moments where, do you feel like you're healthier now? I mean, mentally? I mean, do you think that, something has over the time that you've been expressing yourself,
Yeah.
that you've gotten any sort of shit together?
Not much.
Really? Why do you think that is? Is that something you commit to, or do you think it's something that just is the way it is?
Well, first of all, I got married at 57.
Yeah.
I met a woman 13 years ago, and she's great. But I found somebody who has a point of view other than my own.
yeah, and you
So-
can't
And
bully
I'm an
her?
addict. So
Yeah.
I either was an addict, for those who don't know, and this is buzzword crap, but it's like we're very grandiose. We want what we want when we want it, and then the flip side that can happen instantaneously is that we feel that we're worthless.
Right.
So I either was with women, and I was no easy package, but I was either with slaves, basically. Like, you're going to watch every Kubrick film this week or it's over. I mean,
Right.
it was that controlling.
Right.
Okay.
I
doing
guess that's
women's
better
voices.
than hitting them. is forcing them to
Yeah.
sit through eyes wide shut, even though you might not even like it that much.
I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. Well, he died before he finished it. Maybe he would have saved it.
Yeah.
But, or I would be with the worst women on the planet who tortured me.
And just fight constantly.
Fighting and just sabotaging me and
Yeah.
fucking me around and using me
Yeah.
for my connections.
Yeah.
So there was nothing. So I found somebody. I had one or two really good women in my life, but I wasn't ready. I was a drunk anyway, an active drunk. So, but when I sobered up, I met Joyce, and about 12 years ago, and but she is, she has a point of view, and it's still hard to. I mean, I did get help from my therapist, but I mean, and being so, but it had us. First, I had to stop drinking and doing those kind of recreational drugs, or I'd be dead. But so that's important. In other
Meds?
words, everything, anything that would get me high.
Do you do any meds?
Meds?
Yeah, I mean, are you
If I go to a
antidepressants or something
No. They wanted me to. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it.
on principle?
No, I didn't want my brain to be messed with. I wanted
Right.
to. Yeah, it was more of a dumb creative theory that I wouldn't come up with certain thoughts
Right.
if I was middled out and calmer.
No, I agree with you. I'm the same way. I won't do
Really?
it. Yeah, because I have this weird persistence, and maybe it's a grandiosity that through behavior we can change our actions a little bit. Acting as if, and all that shit.
Right, yeah, right. No, I agree with you.
That we can change the way we think and not deaden part of our brain.
Right. I mean, if I'm going to be an asshole, and I can just try to take another action.
Right.
And rather than take a pill.
So you found a woman that somehow
Got me and understood. Yeah, she got me. She's not an addict, but she was in the record business a long time now. She's in a great charity, Urban Farming.
Yeah.
.org, I might add. It's a great site, and they grow food in the inner cities for the homeless.
Do you farm?
Not only do I not farm, I can't even watch farm documentaries. And I've never put gas in my car I've never put gas in my car or changed a tire.
Yeah. You didn't drive over here. You don't like to drive, right?
No, I hate driving. But I don't know how to change a tire. And
Come on.
No, I don't.
Why? But that's a decision, right? You could learn. I could take you. You want me to teach you?
No.
It would take 2 minutes.
It's not because Lewis died without changing a tire, or Lewis died without filling up his. I go to a gas station near me, and it's not full service anymore, except for me.
Yeah. You're the guy.
I'm like Elvis. I tip the guy $20 and he does everything.
They open the garage for you. We don't use this anymore, but let's get it up on the lift.
Yeah, when I drive in there, how's the car? I don't know. All right, we'll put it up. Go to Greenblatt's and we'll come back in 3 hours.
Because there's part of me that thinks, like with guys like us, and I'm going to compare myself to you, not comedically, obviously, but just
do whatever you want.
But just in a sort of neurotic, compulsive, addictive, self-involved way.
Yeah.
That like
Thanks.
Yeah, but isn't that the name
Maybe
of your new
I'll put that in
one-man show?
I think I might add that to my bio.
I thought that was in your bio.
Well, our bios are now interchangeable, apparently.
Yeah. No, but like
No,
there was a part of me that thought when Prozac became popular that somehow or another guys like us were going to be moved out of the way because people are going to be like, isn't there medicine for his comedy? Can't he feel better? But you do, I think, feel better. I think age sometimes does that a bit. And what?
You know, age for sure. I mean, I'm scared now of dying. I never thought I would be. I'm not a religious guy. I'm more of a spiritual guy.
What does that mean?
I'm afraid I could drop dead here.
Well, that happen, but we'd handle it. I'd make sure everything was taken care of.
Would you consider this dying on stage?
No, I thought that if you dropped dead, I would go tell your driver that we've got a problem.
Call my wife.
And I'd call your wife. I'd go through your pockets.
And say Richard's dead.
And say Richard's dead. And then I'd probably detach from it after that. Then it's not my problem.
No, you'd find in my wallet?
What?
Picture of you and Donna Reed.
How'd you get that picture? So, but...
No, the separate. Donna Reed and you.
Okay, all right. So spirituality, that means you just have a sense that you're not alone, or what?
Yeah. I used to come back. I lived with this really great woman in the middle ages. I was a really horrible drunk. And I'd come home after embarrassing her and myself and ruining the night.
Yeah.
And I would look in the mirror and I'd say, Richard, I'd pray to myself.
Yeah.
I'm praying to myself.
Yeah.
How can I pray to me? It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I remember they wanted to take me to rehab, and they did. And so I walk in there with an ex-girlfriend, and who's taking me to a rehab in Hazleton, which I bolted from, and I still had 2 more days.
Isn't that in like Minnesota or something?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
To see if I could kill myself 2 more times. And
it's always just booze or blow too?
Crystal meth was at the end, a lot of that.
Man, I can't even imagine you on meth. 3 days into that? Did you, I imagine that...
6 days. I was like Howard Hughes as a rabbi.
So that must have been a lot of notebooks then, huh?
Oh, you should see me trying to stay on a lot of hanging pictures. It was like a Laurel and Hardy movie.
Hey, you would stay up hanging pictures?
Yeah, totally loaded. I mean, I got a million horror stories, but we don't want to do drug horror stories, do we?
You on meth is just beautiful. I can't even.
Well, the best meth story that I have was 2. One was loaded and breaking down. Who's a friend of mine? Well, I'll call him a good acquaintance.
Yeah.
Who let me use a quote of his in a book I wrote years ago, and which I believe in this quote. It's a lyric from Springsteen. It's a sad man, my friend, who's living in his own. It's a sad man, my friend, who's living in his own skin, but can't stand the company. And that's who I was.
Right.
And that's what every drunk is.
So what was the worst meth thing?
Well, Bruce.
Yeah.
I had never met him. I knew the band. Some of the guys even opened up for me.
Yeah.
And I was very tight with the E Street Band.
Yeah.
But Bruce, I had never met even. So the cops, they all knew I was loaded.
Where was this?
The Meadowlands.
Okay. You were hanging out backstage.
No, I wasn't that close with Bruce. I just went with a model and 4 friends and their dates and
good seats, watching the show.
Great seats, and I forced myself down into the bowels of the Meadowland.
Yeah.
Because all I really wanted to say,
basically,
was Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan, and now you.
Yeah.
That was it. It was some grand, stupid little...
And you've been planning it for like an hour to say that?
Hour since Kennedy was assassinated.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Springsteen was born.
That's your prophet.
So I could have written him a note. I could have gotten into any number of guys who I know.
Yeah.
Niels Lofgren's a great anybody.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't. I chose to bang on the door, and the cops were going, "Richard, please, we'll take you to your seat." They were really trying to save my ass. But I said, no, I was high. I mean, I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
So Bruce comes out, and this was his like workout phase. You know,
Yeah,
he looked like
big,
big guy.
Yeah.
Little guy, but muscular.
Yeah.
And I said, I was out of my mind high, and I said, Woody Guthrie, Bob, and you. And he looked at me, and he nodded his head and turned around and went inside. Okay? Now, he could have floored me.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy hadn't performed in 4 years.
Yeah.
There's 20,000 people. You can hear him going, Bruce, Bruce.
Yeah.
And here I am breaking up the band meeting the first night on the road. Yeah. So, that was pretty bad. That was really bad. And then I got the next day all over the New York papers, Drunken Lewis, this, Drunken Lewis, that.
Was there more to the story?
Well, I did. I went to a Knick game and I was drunk during the post-game interview.
Yeah.
Then I ran over to Connie Chung and was interviewing her on Marlon Brando for no reason. in the middle of a Knick game.
Was that a big idea you had too?
No, I was drunk. I had no idea what I was doing. I was gone. No, but the crystal meth thing.
Yeah.
I'm name dropping, but you know why? It doesn't matter anymore because I don't give a shit. I happen to know a lot of celebrities. Yeah. I'm really good, and I'm an art collector. Yeah. So I bought a lot of Ronnie Wood stuff.
I like Ronnie Wood,
and he's a sweet guy. I know him for about 25 years, and so long story short, Ronnie says I'm going out to dinner tonight with Rod Stewart and his third wife, 15th wife, I don't know. And his manager of mine, no long, whatever. It was like 6, and I was dating this 23-year-old drop-dead killer, smart model.
Yeah.
Sweet. Although she was into ecstasy and that kind of shit. I always remember, you're so much nicer on ecstasy. Why drink?
Yeah.
That was, I mean, look, she didn't know any better.
Yeah.
She should have just thrown me into a fucking, lockup place. But that was her responsibility. But at any rate, we're sitting there, and I said, the only way I'll go is if you call your dealer, who had to drive like 90 miles and meet me at the bar of this restaurant with like 3 grams of crystal meth.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Well, I was going to save some, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, God.
She sees him an hour later. I go into the bar. I give the guy his bread. I go downstairs to this restaurant on the Strip, famous restaurant. In fact, it's no longer there. It was Le Dome. And I never come out. I never come out. I lose all sense of time. And I come up. They're all done with their dinner. I didn't spend any time with them talking. They were so angry. I mean, it's funny because, Rod and those guys are in and out of stuff. And they and I think Rod just drinks. And I don't know if he has a problem. I doubt it. But Ronnie is very publicized. And I've been trying to help him forever. And he helps me too. But the truth is, the model was she was so gorgeous and so tough in a lot of ways. She was just sitting cross-legged like a hippie at Woodstock eating a veal chop. Yeah. No, they wouldn't give her a chair. Yeah. Because she did a little crystal meth too, so she was a little loaded.
So you left the girl with the guys, and you went and disappeared.
Yeah, disappeared for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big faux pas.
That's a faux pas.
Yeah.
That's bad. And the last one is a couple months ago, a year ago actually, in Burbank, I ran into this beautiful woman who looked familiar, vaguely familiar. And we started talking, and she had a little girl with her. She says, Richard, you were the last drunk I ever went out with. I went, thank you. It was very lovely.
And you remember her?
No. 4 months, this woman, lovely woman, actress, was my girlfriend for 4 months. And I had an entire blackout for the entire dating time.
Well, that makes things interesting as you get older. People showing up going, do you remember? And you're like, oh,
well, you don't know, though.
Yeah,
that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm your grandfather.
Yeah,
You're 10 years old, Maron.
That doesn't happen, huh?
But so we got into the drug stuff, so...
Well, okay. I just read an article on Shecky Green. Did you ever like in your past? Because I'm not going to say you're older, but it seems to me
63.
But you honor the legacy of great Jewish comedy,
I
and
love those guys.
And you're right. And I told you I interviewed Jonathan Winters, and you love him.
He's like one of my best friends. I talk to him every day for the last 6 years.
Oh, you do?
I go up and visit him.
That's sweet.
You know why? Because I remember as a kid hearing how Dick Van Dyke and others would pay homage to Stan Laurel. Had this very modest one-bedroom apartment in Santa Monica. Stan fucking Laurel. Doesn't get much better than that guy.
And they go visit him and stuff?
Yeah, always. So when I became closer to Jonathan, I wanted to be like, his like standing room only audience friend for his riffs. Let him just riff.
It's amazing, right?
He's Picasso to me.
Yeah.
This guy. I mean, he's different than Lenny and Pryor. And
did you ever see Lenny?
No, I was too young.
Yeah. How about Richard? You probably knew.
Yeah, Richard I knew and
because
saw.
Well, you were at the Comedy Store, right?
Well, mainly the Improv, but
okay.
He worked out mainly the Comedy Store. But I saw him in New York.
Yeah.
When in New York, I saw him in Town Hall. I saw him in clubs. Yeah.
Were you friends with him?
Not great friends. We never socialized together, but he respected me, though, I think. And I think arguably he's the greatest because not only does he tell the
I feel
truth,
the same way, yeah.
But he has more weapons. Not only did voices and characters, which is always it's not an easy out, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I do know, but he was talked about himself. He was the same on and off stage, tragically, and he was just drop dead funny. You can't get much funnier and more provocative than that guy. And Lenny opened the door for him.
Yeah, well, Lenny sort of created the template
for us.
Yeah. It's very interesting. You listen to those old Richard Pryor albums; he almost sounds Jewish. Like when he first
the
got
older ones, like Cosby, almost.
He sounded like Cosby, but once he started to talk about real shit, it was almost as if he took the Lenny Bruce system and applied it to how he was going to approach comedy.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's interesting.
And free associate.
What about where does Woody Allen stand in the Richard Lewis?
Well, Woody Allen. First of all, a lot of these guys, like Larry David, who no one knew was a great comedian. Albert Brooks,
Albert's so good. I wish he would come on the show.
He's
afraid
genius,
of it
Albert,
or something.
and his book's terrific too. But the truth of the matter is, these guys all quit. Well, Larry in his 30s, Albert and Woody in their 20s.
Quit doing stand-up.
Yeah. So I'm not. It's not. Jealousy is the wrong word, but it's like this is my 41st year, so I never quit.
Did you expect that to be the case, though? I mean, you've had sitcoms, you've had TV
Well,
success.
I think the alcoholism and the drug addiction probably prevented me from maybe by this time had directed a few movies, and throwing away millions of dollars and giving away at the height of my career, opportunities because I just wanted to party.
Yeah.
But you know what? I know people who hung themselves. You know what I mean? So is it hang themselves?
Yeah.
No, hung themselves.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's sort of like I didn't burn. I'm with you right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm alive. So.
But is there any of that moment? Do you ever feel like, fuck, I'm doing stand-up still?
No, stand-up to me is one of the great crafts of all time.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so pure.
Yeah.
And the only notes I give are what I get from the audience, if they laugh or not, and what I feel about my show afterwards.
Now, with Larry, you guys go, how far back do you go?
We go back to when we were 12, and I had mentioned this, and I can do it in 20 seconds or less. I went to this sports camp, which was very famous in New York State, and he was there, Larry, a gangly, despicable human being, annoying. I hated him.
You hated him in camp?
Hated him, hatred.
But that's why you remember him.
But he hated me.
But that's interesting. But that's what bonded you.
Well, what happened was, usually when you meet somebody at a camp, we say, hey, maybe our parents will drive us into Manhattan. We'll go to Radio City and see Ben-Hur or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
We're 12, But he was, as my mother would say, that's Z on my list.
Yeah.
I would make me laugh because the last thing I would ever do was see this fucking guy.
Yeah.
He annoyed me that much.
Yeah.
And me, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I became a comic first, and he was a real fan. He liked me, liked me.
Right.
Then he became a comic, and I heard about him. I went, whoa, what a fucking brain this guy's got.
Yeah.
So he helped me move out of my college girlfriend's apartment. We were inseparable.
Yeah.
Every day I saw him. I performed every day, 2 or 3 sets a night.
At Catch in the Improv?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I would drive to Long Island for $5, 100 miles round trip. I did not care. In fact, this guy, George Schultz, who we saw in a club, Pips in Brooklyn, said to me, he says, you got it, but if you don't eat, shit, suck, and fuck this business, you'll never make it. You got to be ruthlessly passionate about it.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing the last line, but he did say you got to eat, suck, shit, and fuck this.
Yeah, he was the owner of Pips.
Well, he wasn't like Keats, John Keats.
Yeah. But did he own the place? Was that guy?
Yeah, he owned it, yeah. But they called him the Ear because
Yeah.
he really knew. He really knew. And
you and Larry would go down there?
No, not Larry. The thing with Larry and I worked out at the Improv.
Yeah.
And Catch, mainly.
The original Improv.
So one night around 1 o'clock, he wasn't a drinker or a big drug guy at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
I was. So I don't know if I was loaded or whatever, but I looked at him just like I'm looking at you, and I went, there's something about you that's scaring the hell out of me, man. And he got spooked really fast. He said, well, stop it, you're scaring me. I said, no. It's like Rosemary's Baby. It was like half a sheep, half a Jew, comedian, Jewish.
Yeah.
So he says, what are you talking about? I said, no, there's something about you that's scaring me. So somehow we got into retracing our childhood, and I got back to 12, and I went to this camp.
You didn't remember? You guys didn't remember each other
until I said I went to this Camp All America. He said, I went to Camp All America, and then it hit me. I went, wait a minute. You're that Larry David? He says, you're that Richard Lewis? And we came to blows at the bar.
No, you did.
Yeah.
Over that?
Well, we hated each other.
But that's like what I was...
It's a 1,000,000,000 to 1 shot. We went from hatred, best friends, to hatred, to inseparable again.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see him much anymore. He's divorced, obviously. Everyone knows he has 2 beautiful daughters. But, we don't... the thing I miss most about New York, one of the things...
Yeah. Everybody's around.
You're around, you hop a cab, I'll see you in a minute.
Yeah.
Here, all right, so is there
Can we meet halfway somewhere?
Yeah, really, it's 80 miles. I don't care what kind of food. Is it Vietnamese? I'll eat a dead dog, but I won't. But I can't drive 80 miles. I'll eat a dead dog for 40 miles.
Yeah.
Really, it's horrible.
Yeah.
So I don't see Larry that often.
You talk to him?
Yeah, we email more.
Yeah. So, but that's interesting to me that you have a sense of the fact that these guys, Albert Brooks, Woody Allen, and Larry David, on some level, are not the same type of warrior that you are in terms of stand-up.
Yeah, it sounded like I was boasting, but...
No, I understand it.
A lot of it has to do with...
I'm still out there.
I was so judged by my family, particularly my mother,
yeah,
that it makes sense to me now that I would hear the words, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Lewis, not have an act, not knowing what I was going to say, and say, all right, judge me.
Yeah.
I want to be judged every fucking night. But it would turn me into a warrior on the road. Like, yeah, I'm going to take this audience and try my best to just destroy them. Because...
That's your thought?
Yeah.
Did you ever go through that period where you're like defying them to like you? Like, there's part of me that it's sort of like I almost want them to not like me so I can win them back.
The only thing I can come close to that is that early on in my career, if I was bombing,
yeah,
I would want to bomb on my own terms.
Right.
So I would say, look, they're not even laughing at this good shit,
right?
At the gold.
Yeah.
So I'd say, anyway, so I bumped into Kafka and he's playing gin with Eddie Cantor. I would just do meaningless bullshit that would really bomb.
Right.
Then I'd walk off. I go, fuck, in my head, fuck them.
Yeah.
But, it's not their fault.
I know. That's hard to learn, though, isn't it?
Huh?
How long did it take you to learn it's not their fault?
Oh, I don't know, but it's a great question.
You know what I mean?
Is there an algebra answer to that?
No, but some guy said something interesting to me. This guy, Stuart Lee, British comedian.
Yeah.
And he quit for 2 years because he couldn't take it anymore. The fact that how much he was angry at the audience for not fucking getting him. And then something happened in his soul where he realized that when he sees somebody who's not getting him, he feels bad for them because he knows he is who he is and he's not for everybody. And there's a moment where he's like, I'm sorry you made the wrong entertainment decision, but I'm not, there's nothing I can do for you. But I feel bad that this is how you spent your evening.
But I actually apologize immediately when I go on stage. I go, half of you were dragged here. You can jerk off, you can go have a drink, but you don't have to stay.
What's the best thing that can happen on stage for you on any given show? Like, is there a moment?
I ad-lib so much that high is over with now. It used to be really great.
Oh, really? That's gone? Jesus Christ! What else is there?
Yeah, I'll tell you, when they rise to their feet.
Okay.
There's nothing like it.
Okay. Because for me, if you say that one thing where you're like, where the hell did that come from?
You
and
know,
you're like, oh,
but I really, I'm not.
you do that too much now, huh?
I've been doing it for like 15 years that way, so now I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I'm used to that used to be such a high.
Yeah.
If you were doing, in particular, the same 40 or 50 minutes and all of a sudden you sneak something in.
Right.
I laugh now when someone says, hey, I'm trying a new joke a week from Tuesday. Want to come down? I go, what? What the fuck are you, nuts? I was just playing in Dallas.
Yeah.
And this club owner, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he might have done this tongue in cheek.
Right.
But I remember telling my wife, because this is about the time I engaged, I asked her to marry me about 6 years ago. And it was one of those nights. There was probably maybe no more than like 2 or 3 Jews in the audience. Most of them were right-wing evangelical, which is fine. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I do this show. It's
Yeah.
a Sunday night. And when you do nightclubs,
Yeah.
and I do some, if they're nice rooms, the opening night audience, and in particular the Sunday night audience, when they come see you, they really want to see you.
That's the best. Thursday and Sunday's the best.
The best.
That's because your fans come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm there Sunday night, and it just happened to be jammed. Yeah, 400 people or something. And I was just on fire. It was just one of those good nights.
Yeah.
And they rose to their feet, and I didn't know what the word was until I called my wife from Dallas. I went, I'm walking through, they're standing up. It's always a thrill to make people rise to their feet. Why that happens, you don't know. But I'm not trying to boast here, but they kept applauding. And this owner said, I have never seen anything like this. I went, well, I'm grateful for it, and take me back to my hotel and pay me.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Yeah.
So he takes me back, and while he's driving, I've never seen anything like this, because before we left the club, people would walk over aisles. It's called the stigmata, when they wanted to touch the Christ on the cross.
Right.
They were touching me.
Yeah.
I went, what's going on? And he says, I've never seen it. He knew.
Yeah.
And I asked my wife, and she was back in L.A., and she says, it's like the stigmata. They wanted to touch you. I went, get out of here. She said, no. I said, and this was maybe the greatest show that's ever happened.
Yeah.
So I get
in Dallas,
the guy
interesting?
in Dallas. So
Yeah.
I get to the hotel. The guy gives me my envelope.
Yeah.
And this is what show business is basically in a nutshell. They want the best actors, writers for the least amount of money.
Right.
So they're never going to boast too much about you.
It's a guy giving you an envelope.
That's what it is. It's funny. It's a great name for a book. Guy give me an envelope. They're clueless about why we're on stage.
Yeah.
And why shouldn't they?
Yeah.
But I said, and I thought, not being arrogant, but here's, 400 Texans, and I've been talking about Christ for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Wanting to touch me.
Yeah.
Feel my shirt,
Yeah.
my skin. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
But I knew it was a positive thing. They weren't going to put me up on a cross.
Not yet.
Not
Maybe
yet.
spend another day there and had a mediocre show. You might end up on the cross.
That's true. Well, I rented it. I got out of there.
Yeah.
No matter how, I have to get out, even if it's by camel for 4 weeks first.
Out of fear of drinking?
No, out of fear that they will hang me.
Yeah, okay.
Or the Klan or something. So anyway, I say to the guy, he hands me the check, and I go, well, I'll see you next year. Okay?
Yeah.
And he said, well, maybe. I said, maybe? And had I been drinking, I wasn't a mean drunk, but I was
Rage?
No, I said things I didn't mean, but I wasn't, a guy going, fisticuffs and shit. But had I been drinking after that show, and this guy said maybe, I might have just jumped right into the window and tried. I'm not a strong guy, but I probably would have punched him.
Yeah.
Because it made me. It was so grotesque that the guy couldn't give me credit.
And I just you feel the heaviness there, right?
I'll
That
tell you
moment.
the heaviness.
Yeah,
huh?
it just hits you right there. Like, oh, what do you take that away from me for, you little fuck? Who
Well,
the fuck are
my
you?
wife again. She said to me, "When you go to some gigs are really cushy,
Yeah.
and they pay a lot of money, and some gigs don't." She says, regardless, if you're playing Dallas, there are people that in their 40s or 50s that might have grown up on you,
Yeah.
and watch you on Letterman when they're in college. I said, and there you are, and I'm not trying to boast. She said, they're paying a lot of money. It's a recession. They want you to, it's do it for them. Fuck the owners. Fuck the promoters.
Right.
And I said, otherwise you're just sabotaging your own career.
Right.
And I really do it that way. You know, just before I go on, I go, just do it for those people
Yeah, do it for the people that love you.
who paid money to see me.
Yeah.
Don't do it for the guy who's getting a blowjob in by the safe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, but you know, they deserve to make it. You know, but
So who are your friends in comedy?
right now, just it's you.
Just me? This is it?
I'm very isolated.
Yeah. And now, what does a day look like? Do you eat healthy? What do? You exercise?
Yeah, I exercise. And I don't eat. It's very hard now for me to eat what I used to eat because of my wife. She showed me pictures of cows, like.
What was your thing? Did you like? Were you brought up on the Jewish food? Spent a lot of time
on the Jewish food.
I just picture you because like you were. But I grew up a Jew in New Mexico, so you were sort of like.
You were?
Yeah. My parents are from Jersey, and I grew up mostly in New Mexico. But I go back to I went to school in Boston. And I spent a lot of family in Jersey, but I'd always loved to go to.
What part of Jersey? Because I lived in Jersey.
Pompton Lakes.
That's
by Wayne and
yeah.
I think it's
I live right over the George Washington Bridge.
Yeah, in Fort Lee,
in Englewood. Yeah,
by Buddy Hackett.
Well, my father was a caterer.
Yeah,
the best one.
Yeah,
so he catered every star, and he was booked on my bar mitzvah.
Yeah,
so I had to have it on a Tuesday. My own father.
You had a bar mitzvah on Tuesday because
first time in Jewish history.
So you grew up in the food business?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's unbearable.
Yeah.
And the name of my company is one of them, Melon Ball, because he could have brought home great food from the commissary, steaks and but he only brought home honeydew and cantaloupe in tins.
That's hilarious.
We shit our brains out for 20 years.
I have my grandmother's melon baller. I still have it. It was
the scoop.
The scoop, but it's got a wooden handle. It was hers.
That's great.
I held on to that fucking thing.
You should. Those are cool.
Can I just? I want to give you
anything you want.
But I got to tell you this.
The only reason I'm a little slow today is because I'm just getting over this bad cough, and I did about 10 shows in the last 2 weeks.
It's actually good. You're relaxed. I wrote a book in 2001 called The Jerusalem Syndrome. My Life as a Reluctant Messiah.
As a what Messiah?
Reluctant Messiah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. You'll like it. But I just got to point something out to you.
Sure.
Because I've had to live with this, and it has to do with you. I did a bit. Yeah. Did a bit. I used to do this bit about going to the Philip Morris factory, because I wanted to quit smoking.
Right.
And then I got there, and they had a sign on the desk that said, "Please feel free to smoke." And I was like, "This is tremendous."
Right.
And then I go to this film strip, right?
Did you try to get the job there because you knew you could smoke?
It was unbelievable. I could have lived there.
Right.
So I go into this film presentation, not realizing how corporations work. They own a lot of other corporations. They own Kraft Foods, Miller Beer,
of course,
and all this stuff. And in the bit, I said it looked like the food pyramid in hell.
Yeah, right.
In hell.
Not from hell.
Right. The editor changed it. From hell. And I said, you got to be fucking kidding me. So anytime I have, there's only so much I can do, but when I give the book to people, I correct it in the copy because I'm like, that's not my bit.
Well, when it comes out in paperback, you should put it in the forward.
It only came out in paperback. I'm no big star, but I wanted to tell you that.
Well, I really did popularize that thing.
Of course you did.
I mean, it got to a point where I couldn't say it anymore. I felt it was a hook.
Was there? But
it was an unintentional hook. It was a metaphor for me.
Yeah.
For being victimized. By everything. It was.
It's like I don't get no respect.
Yeah, it was hyperbole.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, it's in the Yale Book of Quotations, but they still didn't write it properly. It was about me feeling of being a victim of any person, place, or thing, and it was never my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they wrote it wasn't exactly the way I intended it on stage, but that's okay. I'm flattered that you would even.
That made me very uncomfortable for a long time, and I'm glad we were able to get closure on that.
Did people ever read it and say, "Hey, no, doesn't Richard Lewis say that?"
No, because it's just like it's one little thing in a book, but it bothered me because it was in hell. It was a clear. I mean, I was making a visual. I wasn't.
Matt Groening, Life in Hell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't worried. It wasn't the whole book.
Now I'm worried that you ripped 2 people off instead of 1.
God, yeah.
How dare you?
I did. But it was just, in hell, it's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
But I'm going to get over it. So.
Yeah, resentments are bad.
Did you ever meet Buddy Hackett?
Yeah, my father catered his son's bar mitzvah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. So he had a Saturday party. I had a Tuesday party. When I was in college, some professor brought me over a double album, Lenny Bruce Live at Berkeley.
Oh, that's a motherfucker, that record. I mean, you got to listen to that 9 times just to get his flow.
But when I heard about it, when I heard it, I was only about 18.
Yeah.
And he died a year later.
Yeah.
I said, I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I knew unconsciously it set a bar like, if you can't even try to be this ferocious and fearless, what's the point?
Yeah.
And
Well, that album's like the fucking Rosetta Stone because, you know,
I
there's
think
so
it
many
might be.
layers, man.
Yeah. But I still have at home
Yeah.
the Koran Theater and at Carnegie Hall, which I haven't heard because I don't like to hear, certainly from his head, premises because it's be too close.
You've had to detach yourself from almost all comedy because of fear.
I haven't gone to a comedy club in about 20 years.
Was there a situation that provoked that, or you just
No.
protecting yourself?
No, I was first of all I wanted my palate to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I heard you do a routine, let's say it was a B plus, not even an A.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're really very, very funny. But let's say it was a B plus, but it was about a cardigan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even, the cardigan would be off my brain maybe for years.
Yeah.
I say, oh God, he did it. I don't want to even talk about a cardigan.
You got a mental file, like, throw that card away.
Yeah, but we all know that
Yeah.
most people aren't that ethical and they steal. And the bad thing about stealing is that when people steal from younger comics who've
Yeah.
been working on something and do it on a talk show, they'll side with the famous comedian.
The
number
business
one.
will and the fans will, yeah.
And the audiences, can you imagine, like these guys who go on cruises, they can rent any number of dozens of videos, say 10 minutes out of Eddie Murphy's, 10 minutes,
Right.
stuff from you, from me, and they can do an hour that's fucking drop dead kill, and the audience won't know.
No.
Nor will they care.
No, they're waiting for the buffet.
Right. Yeah. Pass the pears, Harvey.
Yeah, so it comes all
What
back
a
around.
fucking
I didn't
nightmare
get
that
pears.
I didn't get pears.
Did you get pears?
Unbelievable.
So, okay, in closing, and be honest with me.
I haven't I been?
Yeah. Do you have a little peace of mind, a little happiness in your life?
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I do. The biggest thing is that I was able to stop killing myself. I actually, when you go from a day when you're sitting across from a doctor in New York, and you know that you're going to have to stop, you're going to have to live that the rest of your life without drinking, and know that it's entirely impossible to do. To almost 17 years without a drink, it's impossible not to have some sense of gratitude. And what I try to do is not to squander this sobriety and try to figure out what got me so crazy to begin with that I wanted to medicate myself all the time.
Did you find out?
Well, there's still things I do that drive people crazy, but much less so. And I think that the thing I do more, the two things that I think I do better than ever is I apologize immediately when I think I'm wrong. But the other thing that I do, which is really great, and sometimes people mention it on TV and they're not supposed to, but I have helped people help themselves save their lives.
Well, that's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same deal.
I mean, there's 12-step programs. I go to therapists. It's just, I have like a smorgasbord, but when you help somebody come out of the darkness, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
And that's the best standing ovation you can get.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But in retrospect,
That's why I don't drink, by the way. One of the reasons.
Yeah.
Not only would my wife would just throw me into rehab and call a million people and they'd be in the house waiting for me like a posse, but the truth is, I wouldn't be able to like pick up a phone call like an hour before I go on with a guy like whacked out of his mind, and then me getting on the phone going, get over to help me, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it because I'm sitting there drinking vodkas out of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
I would then lose my sheriff's badge to help other people. So that helps me stay sober.
Now, in retrospect, in dealing with where that came from, because I struggle with that myself. Do you trace it back to your folks? I mean, can you feel where the love was missing, or what the abandonment thing is, or what created that void?
I was the youngest. My sister eloped. I had a niece when I was 12.
Yeah,
she was gone. My brother was in the village, wearing a beret, reading Ginsberg poems.
What's the age difference?
11 and 9.
Yeah.
So they're in their 70s and. I have, so I sort of, but my father was a workaholic, never home, and died in his 50s.
Yeah.
Never saw me perform, never saw me get into show business. My mother did, but my mother had a lot of problems. So she, when my father died, she was basically cracked up. So I mean, it's like she never really. She was maybe jealous of me, which is.
So she tried to constantly put you down.
Well, I would hear from, oh, your mother loves you.
Right.
But then I would take her on shows, like even on Stern.
Yeah.
And she would do things that, Stern loved it. It maybe had been good radio for him, but I was always trying to get her approval.
Right.
Until I realized it was sabotaging my career.
Right.
I did a warm-up before Carnegie Hall in my hometown theater in Englewood, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And she came 2 hours before the show and stood in the middle of the lobby and introduced herself as my mother.
All about
her. So they all knew. Yeah. That's it. Look, she had problems. I had problems, but I mean, so when I would do high, you're you. So I mean, you understand. So this is not a joke, but if I said, so my father had 12 penises, one had a skull cap, whatever it would be, some dumb thing or not dumb. My mother would stand up and say, "Oh, your father didn't have 12 penises." It was unbearable because she had to.
Yeah.
And then I took her on the ABC news show in New York. 3 million people to plug a date. Brought her on again for her approval. Mm-hmm. She says, "You know what my son's best joke is?" And all of a sudden I got nervous. I went, well, what do you mean? I don't even tell that many jokes. She did a Myron Cohen joke.
A Myron Cohen joke,
like an 8-minute joke
in Yiddish.
That ended in Yiddish. And I said, "That's your favorite joke of mine?" Like, I really would say that. Yeah. And we're on live in New York, and I'm going, like I'm really doing that joke.
Yeah, okay.
And then the cast, the crew was they're all nervous. It was like it was like Rosemary's Baby, and the vibe was like 10 below zero in the fucking studio.
Because you actually had a fight
with
your mother.
Well, the bottom line is, and I've said this, but when I got the Tonight Show in the early 70s, I called her from right across from the whiskey. Yeah. And I said, "Mother, I'm going to be on with Johnny this week, Johnny Carson."
Yeah.
Took me 2.5 years to get on the show.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fast, really.
Yeah.
Think about it. And I said, "I'm going to be on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson." And she said, quote, unquote, and this basically speaks volumes of what it was, "Who else is on with you?"
Oh, yeah.
And there you go.
That's it. Yeah. That's the nut. That's the kernel.
That's why I'm a comic.
The missing puzzle.
That's there's Rosebud.
We got it. Thanks for sharing.
Okay.
So that's it. That's my talk with Richard Lewis, a prince among men, a prince among Jews, a prince among Jewish comics. It was nice to talk to him in the morning. I thought he was, it was good. He was a little mellow. He was focused. It was an actual give and take. Lovely. Lovely. Please go to WTFpod.com, the new WTFpod.com. Get involved. I'm very excited about that new website. I just put up an episode list. There is a full episode list. So let's minimize the tweets of redundancy, if we could, about guests. So do that. Go get the app for iPhone, iPod, iPod Touch, Droid, new merch, T-shirts. The schedule's there. Links to Just Coffee there. Everything you need. Check out the new Punchline magazine, which is called something else now. Laughspin.com. Go look at that. New site. Sparkly, shiny, good. All the comedy news that's fit to print. Laughspin.com. All right, I'm going to go. Did I mention that today's episode was brought to you by Comedy Central? Enter the Thursday dimension with all new episodes of Futurama and Ugly Americans. Thursdays at 10 p.m., 9 Central. Go to Comedy... Oops. Uh-oh. I screwed up in the silly voice. Go to cc.com to see previews, exclusives, and behind-the-scenes videos. Comedy Central. My face is on fire.